Hey guys, it's Alyson in editing. This is, part 2 of our Catching Fire book wrap-up episode featuring Gaby. Last week was with Michael, even though I'm not releasing these in the order I recorded, but whatever. Hope you enjoy it. And also, I just found out that Lin-Manuel Miranda is Hermes in the Percy Jackson series, so that's gonna be so cool. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye! Everyone, and welcome to Bookish Babbles. Today we are wrapping up the Catching Fire book. Next time we will be talking about the movie with the gang again, so yay!
Woo!
Yep. So you just listened to the interview I gave with Michael, so it was great talking to him. I'm sure we'll find out because that'll be in the future. This is the past. Time's an illusion. Anyway, but now we're with returning guest Gaby. Yay!
Woo! Thank you so much for having me again. Hi guys.
Yay!
So, Bookish Babbles. Yes. We're right back.
Yep.
We're back
we're talking about Catching Fire.
I know. I just wanted you to sing it.
Oh.
Okay, Catching Fire.
Catching Fire.
Woo! From the Hunger Games. Yeah, from the Hunger Games series.
Actually, before we get started though, because basically I worked today, then right after work I had to go pick up an order from Barnes & Noble, so I wanted to show it to you, and I'm all hyped up on caffeine right now because I had to have coffee and I had chocolate ice cream for dinner, so it's important for me to be hyped up on caffeine and chocolate right now.
Exactly. It's like sugar and caffeine. I mean, what else do we need?
I need sugar and caffeine because knowing us, we're going to talk for at least 3 hours, so it's necessary.
Definitely necessary. And also, I mean, what is life without a little bit of caffeine and sugar?
Exactly.
I mean,
actually, we were playing a little like bonding activity last week in the office where it's like, okay, everyone anonymously submit a fact about yourself. Dan will pick 3 at random, and then y'all have to guess who the person is. Someone submitted the fact that they don't like chocolate, and then for some reason people, because I guess I made a weird face because my face was just like, what the fudge, what do you mean you don't like chocolate? And then someone saw my face and they're like, it's Alyson, she's trying to hide it. I'm like, no, and they're like, she's lying, and they all voted and said it was me, but they were completely wrong. And because they didn't guess right, we still don't know who the crazy person is that doesn't like chocolate, but I am still offended that they thought I didn't like chocolate.
I mean, I do know a person that doesn't like chocolate, but it's because she is a super taster. So what she tastes is like extra kind of like layers or depth in taste. Mm-hmm. And apparently that makes her not like chocolate and not like a bunch of other things. But I mean, unless you're a super taster, why wouldn't you like chocolate?
Yeah. But anyway, so the books I got today, I got volume 3 of a manga series I'm reading, Your Lie in April.
Ooh, I haven't read that one.
Volume 1 was really good. Basically, the main character is like a former child prodigy pianist who hasn't played since tragedy happened, but this new girl that he's introduced to comes around, and she's a violinist who's entering competition, and she kind of ropes him back into the world of music type thing. But literally everyone I've mentioned this to, including the cashier who when I went to the front to pick up my order and she like gave this to me, she's like, I love this series. So everyone who I mentioned this to loves the series, so I'm excited about that.
I'm officially intrigued. I'm a musician. I mean, I cannot relate to child prodigy.
Yeah, no.
I mean, no.
But like I've played the violin growing up, so that's part of why I was intrigued, because I'm like, ooh, one of the main characters plays the violin.
I am in awe of you. I applaud you. I tried violin once. I sounded like a dying cat.
So most people don't like that at first with the violin.
No, but my mom had bought the instrument and suddenly it disappeared after the first day.
Dang.
So I mean, every single parent, all of our listeners can relate to starting to dread the decisions one made when buying a child an instrument.
Yeah.
Just say.
And then
What's the other book that you bought?
okay, so these next two books are both memoirs, funny enough. I got Everything I Know About Love by Dahlia Alderton.
Alderton.
Alderton, thank you. I'm pretty sure she's an actress on a show that I haven't seen, but a booktuber that I follow and watch highly, highly recommended this book. She said it's one of her favorite books she's read this year. So I'm like, well, that's all I need to know.
I mean, 2022 has been the year of memoirs.
I know, especially because I did read Jeanette McCurdy's book. I'm glad my mom died, and it was fantastic. But again, as I've said before, whenever I mention this book, look up the trigger warnings. Look up the trigger warnings. Look up the trigger warnings. Make sure you're in the headspace for it, guys.
Exactly, because memoirs, even though sometimes it's like, oh, they're gonna be great, so easy reads, you find tea about people, and that tea may be too hot to handle, so
Yep.
no pun intended. However,
Yep. And then
what's the other one?
My Body by Emily. I should have looked up how.
Radakowski. Radakowski.
Thank you. But yeah, I guess she's a famous model who I'd never heard of until this book came out and it sounded really good, and I keep hearing good things about it, and I'm like, yep, sold. That's all I needed to hear.
She is a great model. I believe that she has a swimwear line, and she was in a movie with Zac Efron,
Oh,
where Zac Efron played a DJ.
good for her.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
And I believe that she has a child, and I mean, she still has the body of a model, and I really applaud that because having a child is like super hard, and then bouncing back, I mean, it's hard, and the fact that she did it apparently so like flawlessly, I'm just like, what are you, woman? Are you human?
Yeah. The answer
Yeah.
is no. She's part. Well, what are those creatures in Harry Potter called? That Fleur's part Vila.
Oh, I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah. But anyway, the other book I
yeah.
got that the same booktuber who I believe her username is called Uncarly. I don't know. I'll link her channel in the show notes because y'all should watch her. She's great. But anyway, the other book she recommended is Funny You Should Ask, which I think is about a journalist connecting with a movie star. I don't know. It's rom-commy, and I'm like, sounds like a good time to me. And this cover looks so fun.
I mean, it's pink and red.
I know.
Nice.
And it really pops out on the shelf, and I'm like, oh right, Carly recommended this, I'm gonna grab it. And then okay, there's two more.
More books. Okay, woman. When you said a couple books, I was expecting three.
I ordered a couple that I was
Oh.
ready to pick up in store, but then I made the mistake of walking around.
I mean, walking around, it's always a mistake. I'm kidding, guys. I am
But
kidding.
okay, anyway, the special edition of The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer, which is one of my favorite series, and will definitely a series that will be featured on this podcast in like, I don't know, 50 years.
Guys, this version is gorgeous. It's gold, people.
I know it has a gold pages, and wait, hold on, what does it look like without the dust jacket? Ooh, it's got a little fairy.
Then it's green.
Up, which makes sense because the original like hardcover main color is green. But yeah, this is so pretty, and it features all our favorite characters. We got Alex and Connor looking up at the castle. We got Mother Goose flying on her goose, of course. We got Goldilocks with her sword because she's a badass. Yeah,
It sounds like a book to read.
Yep, I love this series so much, and like I said, it will be covered at some point. It's just going to take me at least 20 years to get through all the Percy Jackson Rick Riordan universe stuff, because, you know, and you heard there's a new Percy Jackson book coming, right?
What? Okay.
Yeah, no, like full on, it's starring Percy, Grover, and Annabeth. I know. It's coming out.
Guys, I'm speechless. Guys, I'm speechless. I'm like, I thought that we were done with a Percy Jackson. I mean, after like so many books, I was like,
yeah, nope, we're not done. The woman was too stunned to speak. Not only are we getting the Will and Nico book next year, we're getting a new Percy Jackson book.
I mean, because it's such a big world, because we have like Percy Jackson, and then we have the like Roman version.
Yeah, the Heroes of Olympus, and then Apollo gets his own series, and then we got the Egyptians. series and the Norse mythology series, which are all confirmed to be in the same universe because Magnus Chase is canonically Annabeth's cousin. She shows up in the series.
I mean, it's gonna take you a while to
I know.
get.
That's why I say it's going to take me like 20 years to get through all those books.
I thought you were exaggerating. I don't think you are, honey.
I'm not exaggerating. It's gonna, like I said, it's probably gonna take, like, at the pace I'm going, it's gonna take a little over a year to get through the Hunger Games books, and those are only 4 books.
They're big books, but they're great books, and
Yep.
a year it's worth it.
All right, okay, and the last book in this haul, because we gotta really get started on Catching Fire, is Tom Felton's memoir.
Woo! Yes.
Yeah, Draco Malfoy has a memoir, everybody. And the back is his pictures when he was a child as Draco.
And there is an entire like what I'm not saying episode. Why am I thinking episode? There's an entire chapter on Ronald Weasley.
Of course. Wait, is there?
Yes.
I don't know. I just grabbed this. I didn't look into it. I just grabbed it and it was like, Tom Felton book, mine.
I mean, I haven't read the book. However, I saw on Twitter that there is an entire chapter. I think that's the 17th or 16th. I mean, but like all the listeners tell me if I'm wrong, but I saw on Twitter that apparently there's an entire chapter about the actor that plays Ronald Weasley.
Oh yeah, here we go. The Wesselbys at work or golfing with Gryffindorks, in which Tom shocks a young Rupert Grint and the Felt twins come up with Wizard Weasel.
Ooh, okay, that's gonna be cool.
Okay, yeah, this sounds phenomenal. I'm glad I got this. and I got it with a coupon. Haha.
I mean, that's even better.
Exactly. Anyway, so yeah, we should probably talk about, Catching Fire, the thing that this episode is supposed to be centered on.
Catching fire! I'm sorry. I should. This girl is on fire!
Rock 2 reference. Elite.
I mean, today I'm extra cringy, so I'm sorry, guys. All the listeners, today I am cringy, so.
Yeah.
This girl is on fire! I've got me. Okay,
Girl is on fire! Actually, I think I had to dance that one year in a recital.
So you danced too? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I did, because I used to dance growing up. I did ballet for like 10 years. I even did 2 of those years were on point. It's a fact that I keep forgetting about myself and that everyone who knew me after that time in my life forgets because, I walk across a flat surface and I trip and they're like, how the fuck did you do point, Alyson? I'm like, I don't know. It's a miracle.
I didn't know that you dance. I did point too.
Yeah.
I was like, so many scars.
I know, right? Like my ankles have never been the same since.
Emotional scars, actual scars.
Ballet, very famous for making all young girls hate their bodies.
Yes, body dysmorphia, broken toes,
Yep.
missing toenails. I mean, it's a party, guys.
I did tap too. Tap was fun.
I have tap shoes. My mom hid them when I was younger, guys.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
All right. So yeah.
Starting with Catching Fire.
Catching Fire. So anyway, what was the first time you read Catching Fire, Gabby?
Ooh. Great question. Read Catching Fire. Emphasis in red. Yeah. I know for a fact that I read it about a week and a half after I read the first Hunger Games book.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember. And I also remember just being extremely angry at it. And I had to put it on the freezer for a while because I just got angry. I mean, the reference of Friends, it actually helps to tone down. I mean, it destroys a book. Please don't put it in freezers unless it's in a Ziploc bag and it's airtight. Do not put books in the freezer without proper protection because they'll die, and mine died, so I was angry again because I had to buy another one. However, I remember that when I read it, I was like, really, guys, again? And then I was slightly scared that it was gonna be the exact same plot again, but done differently. However, my inner pettiness, my inner petty person was like, I get why they did that. So I read it and I thought, Honestly, it was a lot more interesting than the first one. Okay, that's an unpopular opinion. I thought it was very, very interesting because in the first one we got the brutality of children being just like thrown into an arena to murder each other. However, in this one we got the previous survivors going back and how each and every single one of them, like, age is no longer a fact, and they are already, all of them, or in their most part, there are already like murderers, like
Mhm.
trained murderers.
Yeah, like they all like killing's not new for these guys.
Exactly, and the fact that they were already like victors in their own right, and the fact that they had been already under the capital's control for X amount of years before being thrown again into the arena, and like that taking them by surprise and therefore making them a lot angrier and like petty and brutal, I thought. And also the fact that they already knew each other,
Mhm.
that was, they had like shared trauma, different years, guys, but shared trauma.
I know. Right, stop trying to eat the trash. No. Sorry, everyone. My dog's trying to eat the trash out of the trash can again.
Okay, I mean, I love your dog, it's cute.
She's a no, Ray. Ray, go in your bed. Go in your bed. Good girl. Okay, there we go.
However, I just wished that like an extra book or a little kind of like little stories about every single one of the
I
years
know.
was published, because they are very complex and interesting characters, and that's what I missed in the book, or at least as a reader I wanted to know why, like more about how and why the two different factions like were created, the
Hmm.
ones who were in with a plan and those who weren't.
Yeah,
So
and it's so interesting.
what's your take?
Yeah, and kind of going off that, it's so interesting how like Suzanne Collins is able to create such this huge cast of characters where even those who barely have any page time, like each one of them feels like an in-depth, interesting character who could carry their own story.
And I thought, especially reading about the training sessions,
Hmm.
how they all like felt almost like caged animals, like wild and like caged lions. And I was like, and like because we have our protagonist Katniss, and she's already so badass and like active and like good at what she does. And yeah, she has killed people, but like not a lot. And then
Most
we
of it
get
you can chalk up to self-defense too.
exactly. And a lot of the other victors aren't. And you read about one of them, I think her name's Enobaria, having filed her teeth into almost like shark like features, and Beatty, who pretty much electrocuted everyone else.
Yup.
We and Finnick, who pretty much was the victor at 14, which is one of the youngest, and pretty much killed everyone with a giant, I don't want to say trident. It's not fork, it's trident. So
Yeah.
with a giant trident at 14.
Yeah, which was gifted to him, by the way, from a sponsor.
Exactly. And another one, Annie, who literally went insane.
Hmm. Watching her district partner get beheaded, and then the only reason she won, like, it's not confirmed that she killed anyone, but she was basically one of the rare cases where she kind of won by luck because the dam broke and it did more damage than the game makers anticipated. So the arena flooded, and by that point, she was the only one left who could swim.
And our what's Max?
Nice.
The fact that she could, like, she never spoke,
Mhm.
and it was never truly explained why. I mean, in the movie they did, she had a scar in
Yeah,
her
where
neck.
she had a stroke I'm pretty sure it's because she had a stroke. Like she in the book, she it's not completely mute like she is in the movie. She like lets out some grunts and has a thick accent that makes it a little harder to understand her, but the more time Katniss spends with her, the better she gets at understanding
Yeah.
Mags. And also speaking of Mags, one of my favorite like details that I picked up on is the funniest because what you said about the victors kind of acting like agitated caged animals. Like Mag said that like during her private training session she was gonna take a nap.
I mean,
Be
yeah.
scored on that. Like, yeah, I took a nap during my training session, guys. I love
I
that.
mean, I mean, what else could she do? It's I mean, no, there was plenty she could have done.
I know.
However, she already knew that she had a long life and that she had survived.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, she already knew that she was going to die there.
Yeah.
She was going to die and instead of Annie
There's a
Cresta.
very slim chance she'd live long enough to be rescued.
I'm crying. But yes,
You know what? You know what else also makes me sad is the fact that Mags won the 11th Hunger Games, which was exactly 1 year after Lucy Gray. So it's possible she watched the 10th Hunger Games.
I mean that is badass.
Hmm.
However, also heartbreaking
Hmm.
because
She could have been that connection to like I don't know. She could have somehow like maybe known the story of about Lucy Gray from the year before her games. I don't know. Could have told Katniss about it.
but also she was the only one of the victors who had lived long enough to see the entire reign of President Snow.
That's true.
And also, I mean, imagine the toll that it must have taken out of her to see every single year her having to walk with two kids
Mm.
as their mentor for them to be slaughtered. Unless,
More.
exactly. So, I mean, Mags was a great lady, and yikes. But I mean, a lot like every single one of the victors is so complex and messed up in their own ways.
I know, like,
Um,
cause cause like at the beginning of book one, we're told it's like, oh, if you win the Hunger Games, then you have live a life of luxury and fame and fortune, and then it's like you get the meeting all the victors, you get the reality of what that's actually like and how it's not so great.
and also the lack of, I mean, I'm not saying humanity because they're very, very much human,
Hmm.
but also the lack, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm cursing, but okay, I won't curse. I
No,
won't
you can
curse for.
curse. I do it all the time.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, sorry,
They no
Grandma.
sorry, they no longer gave a shit
Yeah.
about anything. I mean, they did and they didn't. Um, any kind of, oh, like, oh, they cannot see me undressed, that went out the window. They, I mean, they were living life at the fullest, but also somewhat hollow,
Hmm.
which is a very strong critique to fame and also like position and also the understanding that not everything is what it seems,
Hmm.
and also the fact that they were going to leave their like live their life in peace wasn't a thing at all, because even like some of the victors got their families murdered.
Joanna.
Yeah, I mean that's she's one example, but how many of others didn't like to a certain extent?
I know.
And
Like,
also going back home and seeing their families, knowing that they knew and they saw what they had to do. I mean, living as a victor is a thing, but also is living with the stamp of a glorified murderer.
mhm.
I mean, okay, we're going very, very dark, guys.
It's getting dark real fast, but that's that's what we signed up for with this series, basically.
I mean, yes. But like, for you, what's like your favorite? aspect of this book?
Um, Again, I think just like shining a light on the realities of having lived through this thing, because like the whole time in book one, it's like we were rooting for Katniss to get home. We're rooting for her to get back to Prim because the bond and love that we see them have is so, even just like we only get it for like I don't like in the first 20 pages, but it's so strong and like it stays with you the whole time. It's like it's all we want, and then it's like, yay, we got this, except Katniss is not okay. Neither is Peeta. Like everyone's not okay. Not even like her not even like her mom and Prim, because like even though they didn't directly experience the games, they still had to go through the trauma of watching Katniss go through all that. So I just love how honest the book is in that, and also just how like bigger the story gets, because book one focuses so much on just Katniss's personal journey and survival story that, but now because of what she did at the in the games, it's so much bigger than just her and her family, and it's coming to grips with that because I think it's only natural that when Katniss starts hearing whispers of the uprisings and how people are looking to her, she's like her first instinct is to be like, no, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
That makes her a relatable character.
A very relatable character. And also, it's the book where at least I started hating Gale.
I mean, okay, my mom jokes that when she's reading the books, she's Team Peeta, but in the movies, because it's Liam Hemsworth, she's Team Gale.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, also the brutality of the capital in the second book is a lot more graphic
Mhm.
and written, and
Yeah.
simply I cried. It was especially the description of all the victors' families having to watch her stand there,
Like having to face Rue's family in District 11, that gets me every time.
and the fact that there was she, even though she was the exact same age as Katniss's sister, Prim,
Mhm.
Katniss was there to save her sister, but because Rue was the eldest, there was no one to save her. That was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, just any mention of basically just any mention of Rue just gets me in the series is the what I'm saying.
I mean, yes. And also, I thought it was hilarious how she handled Seneca Crane's
Yeah.
death.
I mean, yeah.
It was hilarious. I mean, I think a lot of the listeners can relate to this. Hopefully they can. But the anger and like bitterness around having to again fight, and Katniss's own little, like, not presumptuous, but there was no presumption. Yeah, like pompousness around her knowing that she was the reason
Hmm.
for Seneca Crane's death,
Yeah,
like on the living, but death
a
in it.
cancellation of life.
Exactly. And I thought it was so brilliantly handled, her like smugness around it, because it shows how fragile is the balance of power.
Hmm. And it's also just so interesting, like knowing like how everything plays out in the end, just like reading all of like Plutarch's like interactions with Katniss throughout this book, because he's on Katniss's side, he's like playing Snow in the Capitol, but it's like Katniss doesn't know that, so it's so fascinating like seeing his reactions.
But also his willingness to sacrifice all the rest of the victors
Yeah.
for her.
Mhm.
I respect Plutarch a lot, but at the same time, I respect the character,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I have a little bit like a little bit of hard time stomaching the fact that he willingly took that job to orchestrate the murder of everyone who was in Katniss's way, or his way to save Katniss and get her out of the arena.
Or well, the thing is, they kind of go about it a bit differently in the movie, I feel like, because there is that deleted scene in the movie of Plutarch changing the whatever was originally written on the 75th Hunger Games envelope, and it is implied, and I think we all agree that even in the book it was rigged so they could make sure Katniss went back in the arena, but I'm not sure if Plutarch directly had anything to do with that, like the movie implied, because I'm saying this weirdly, but in the book, at the end when they reveal everything to Katniss after they get her out of the arena, Plutarch says something like, "Since the quell was announced, that we have put this plan in place to get you out," implying that he took on the role of head game maker before Katniss going into the arena again was even a thought. So it's like he took the job as head game maker to so he could have this important position to get in there and infiltrate everyone, get to know Katniss more, because he said like showing her his Mockingjay watch at the party at the beginning of the book was a subtle way to hints of how to her what the arena was going to be like, because originally she was supposed to mentor, and as a way to start to get her to trust him potentially. So he took that job, and then the twist happened about what the quarter quell twist was going to be, and he was like, "Oh fuck, now I gotta improvise."
I mean, yes, but at the same time, he took the job as game maker knowing, fully well knowing that he was orchestrating the death of possibly other people.
Yeah, but he'd also been working as a game maker for years at that point too, so
And yet he's one of the heroes, guys.
yeah, he is a complicated character, let's just to say the least.
I mean, yeah. I mean, all of them are because in that, I believe that in that series there is, I mean, except for Prim, there is no real good or evil
Yeah,
entirely. Everyone is in a gray area.
yeah, no one's entirely innocent in this series, which is why it is so fascinating, why we all still talk about it.
Yes, and also because it talks so much about what the power of few or the actions of a few have, like the impact it has on society,
Mhm.
and trendsetters, and also slightly being imprisoned by your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you do when suddenly you have this platform kind of thrust upon you where everyone's looking to you, which I'm sure anyone who's gone viral on the internet can relate to that feeling.
Yes.
Mhm.
And talking about that, I mean, is it just me or anyone else thought that PETA was such, I'm sorry to say this, but a wuss at the beginning of the book of giving her space? Dude, no!
Yeah. Keep in mind he's still a teenage boy. Teenagers don't know what they're doing.
I get that, but at the same time, it's like you were already in an arena fighting for your life. I think any sense of teenage desperation, it's kind of gone.
Yeah.
Your priorities are like
Yeah, but
shift.
PTSD also does this thing where it makes you feel like worthless and undeserving if you don't have proper support. And given Peta's family, I don't think he felt like he had proper support, and he was already probably traumatized from growing up in an abusive environment. So he probably felt like he wasn't worthy of pursuing anything with Katniss after they got out of the arena.
But it's not about being worthy or not. They both knew that it was life and death
I know.
thing
But
is,
but
yeah.
like being back home in their everyday lives, he probably didn't feel, and Katniss, and finding out that Katniss was initially acting for the cameras, it hurt, and he's been probably because again he grew up in an abusive environment, has been feeling worthless and not worthy of real love for years. So that's hard to shake.
Yes, but at the same time, she saved your ass. So I think any acting or lying could be forgiven
Yeah.
in the big like picture of things. And
And
plus, you got a couple kisses from the girl that you liked. I mean, cool. Like, am I in the wrong saying? He's like, dude, you got the better, like, the better half of it all, like the better side of it all.
yeah.
It's like ignorance is bliss. Also, he ended up with a limp.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Reminder, guys, because the movie didn't cover this. Peter lost his leg after the first Hunger Games. He has a prosthetic leg throughout all this.
Exactly. So, losing a leg and lying. I mean,
Yeah. Like, our boy's been through a lot, and he's about to go through even more. Yay!
exactly. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know, guys. Two things are gonna be happening when we're covering Mockingjay. One, I might start drinking wine while doing those episodes. And two, I am starting a counter for all the war crimes that are committed in that book for both the Capitol and District 13.
yes. I have a question
Mhm.
about because I mean I know that one of my and one of your favorite characters is Katniss's lovely stylist.
Cinna.
Exactly. So, do you think he knew that making the wedding dress and then the Mockingjay dress was going to cost him his life?
Oh, he 100% knew. Like are you kidding? He was in. I'm like 100% convinced he was in on the rebellion, and he has that line where he says like, "Don't worry, I put all my emotions into my work. That way, no one gets hurt but me." So him making that dress turn into like the Mockingjay was Cinna giving a big old middle finger to Snow, and he knew what that meant.
It was pretty much a suicide mission.
Hmm.
That's what I always wondered because I like personally I thought that yes, it was a middle finger to Snow and the whole regiment. However, I always thought that he didn't he wasn't entirely expecting him to be killed because of it. And the fact that he is killed because of it, it's just it was a heartbreaking and to a very dynamic and interesting character because Cinna's journey to being part of the rebellion is not disclosed, is not explained.
Have you Have you heard the theories about Cinna originally being from District 1?
No.
Okay, so yeah, this is like the headcanon theory that I've accepted as like, until unless Suzanne says otherwise, this is to me his official backstory. So the theory goes that Cinna was born in District 1 because, he becomes like a fashion designer and they make luxury items in District 1. So it would make sense growing up in that kind of environment, Cinna would have access to things like that. And his talents became so impressive that he was able to get some kind of eventually sponsorship to get to earn capital citizenship, work in the games, and work his way up, that kind of thing. Because we saw in Ballad that the Plinths, they were, rich, they were valuable during the war, they were able to buy their way to capital citizenship. So if some artist was impressed enough with Cinna's talents, if he made a name for himself growing up in District 1, it only makes sense that they would kind of, you know, bring him over to the capital. And he probably worked as as like part of a prep team, and then, until he got promoted to stylist. And him being from the districts could explain why he doesn't quite dress so as lavishly, or he doesn't seem to be part of capital culture as much. And he like, from has seen the games growing up from the perspective of the districts. Even if it was from District 1, a career district, he still like understands the brutality and reality of the games better than any other normal capital citizen.
True. I never thought about that.
Yeah, so yeah, until Suzanne gives us a different backstory, that's the one I'm going with.
Yes. So, in Catching Fire, what did you think about the difference in setting and the whole clock
Oh,
set for the arena?
I mean, it was just so cool because then, because it's like, guaranteed destruction wherever you go. So you can't settle in one place and stay there for very long. And and it's like a puzzle to solve too. And I find and I find it like really fascinating.
I mean, yes.
And it like takes the whole team of the alliance they're in to survive because they needed Wyrus, who was smart enough to figure out the clock arena, and then people like Finnick, Joanna, and Katniss, who are fighters, to survive all the physical threats.
Do you think that it was slightly done in a way that it was almost like an advantage to Finnick and an advantage to Joanna because of the type of trees and the fact that the clock was on the water?
Oh yeah. I mean, Katniss even makes a joke. It's like they designed the arena for you, Finnick.
True.
I mean, but then again, um, because Plutarch even says like arenas aren't built in a day. Like because the arenas are at least like at least the concept of what an arena will be for certain games has to be planned years in advance, especially for quells.
And also the fact that how Joanna and Finnick were so pushed into into
Mm.
Katniss' face more than the rest, I believe.
Yes.
And also Finnick and Joanna were were the youngest apart from Peeta and Katniss.
Yeah, because they're like, yeah, because like Finnick's like 24, and Joanna's like at most I think she's 22. Yeah, because I forget how young they actually are sometimes. Because when I read the series for the first time and I was 14, like I thought at the time like, oh, 18 is so cool, wise and mature. So Finnick and Joanna are obviously full-fledged adults, and now being 25, I'm like, ha 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 ha. Oh boy.
I was like, what is adulting?
Yeah. Now it's like I look at 18-year-olds and it's like you're all babies.
It's like, oh, baby.
It's
Like
like
baby number one, baby in diapers number two.
yep, and then it's like and again because like reading the first Hunger Games book, Katniss being 16, I'm like wow she's so old and wise and mature, and now it's like I look at 16-year-olds, I'm like you're what sit down you small child, what do you mean you're allowed to drive a car?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
What do you,
it's crazy.
yeah.
What breaks my heart is also like another again minor character, but Cecilia, who's the from District 8. She didn't last the first day because she was the one who had like the three kids clinging to her at the reaping, being like, "Mommy, don't go." And she was in on the plan, but like she was on Katniss's side, and she didn't live.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, now you're stuck remembering it with me.
Right. However, that is, I mean, I believe that the Hunger Games has a very odd place for it presents parents in a very odd way.
Mm-hmm.
They're either not there. They was like three. It's like they're either not good parents or killed or they're dead
Yeah.
or they're pretty much not there. No, it's like yes, it's like they're either like they make a sacrifice or they're simply not there. And the odd mother and fatherly figures are usually embodied by mentors. Because oddly enough, even Snow is it has like a feel of like almost like mentor to Katniss
Yeah,
in
and like
this.
in that like first interaction they have at the beginning of the book, like the way he's sitting down and talking to her, it's like a parent trying to teach a child a lesson almost. And
It's
because
like I
Snow
thought,
is a parent technically,
and a
granddaughter,
grandparent,
so clearly he had a child.
and the fact that he says, "I thought we had agreed never to lie to one another."
Mm-hmm.
That is not how you talk to an enemy. It's almost yes, it's almost like a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
in just saying Effie was a great mentor, but somewhat emotionally distant.
Yeah.
And Haymitch, which is, I mean, it's my favorite character. Uh, he was tough love kind of mentor
Yeah.
because I mean, Katniss's mother was not there emotionally,
Nope.
never there. Even though she was physically, she was not there.
Yeah.
It's like I
And
always felt
and the sad part is like she is like you see at the beginning of this book, Mrs. Everdeen is trying now, like she's trying to improve things a little bit because she's doing more things around the house for Katniss, cooking more, and even like managing like all their finances, stuff like that, and 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 making genuine efforts to heal her relationship with Katniss, which is beautiful and sucks because of things that it doesn't work out because of things that happen in Mockingjay.
because also I do believe that Katniss's mother was more concentrated in being Prim's mother rather than Katniss's.
Yeah.
And it's not because of Katniss's fault or not because of Katniss's reaction towards her. I think it was partly because Katniss reminded her of her own husband.
Yeah, because and it's even described many times that Katniss looked like her father, whereas Prim takes after her mother. So with their father gone, like physically, Katniss stands out from the rest of her family.
Honest, the readers like unpopular opinion. The readers are like the listeners are going to hate me, but I personally don't. I don't like Katniss's mother.
Fair.
I I don't believe in her efforts. I mean, I do, and at the same time, I don't. It's like I understand, however, she should have done better. Is like what was like at the same time, it's like what are you, woman? It's like your child was sent to fight to the death. If that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
To snap, like to s- because I believe that the like mother instinct, it's quite a strong feeling. It's like motherly instinct just like kicks in, and it's like I mean, I've even heard about tales of like women being able to lift things way bigger and way heavier than themselves in order to save their own child, and the ability that women usually with a child have of like recognizing their child's voice saying mom amongst a bunch of other kids.
Yeah.
Because if you scream mom at the supermarket, only your mom will like turn around. Because honestly, the word mom is like there is no like mom, it's her name. No, it's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And usually your mom is the one that like turns around.
Yep. And mom always knows when something's wrong. I should know because even when you try to hide it, she can just tell by the voice. She's like, "What's wrong?"
Exactly. And
Like, I know you're lying.
exactly. And personally, I feel like I mean Peta's mother is never truly explained or shown
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah, we just get her in that one brief flashback where we see very clear evidence that she physically abused little Peta.
Exactly. However, we do see Katniss's mother, and there is not much talk about mothers in the entire series. I mean, Annie Krista, but that's Mockingjay.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, we have a lot of father figures almost, but no mother figures, which is quite odd.
That's true. Dang.
But yeah, dang. And it's like, oh, also, how do you describe the Hunger Games? Too many men. I'm kidding. Not really, a little, but
How do you describe Hunger Games? Men fucking shit up.
yes. And also, I mean, what is your take on Joanna? Do you like her? Do you not? Do you trust her? Do you not?
I
What is
mean,
your take on
again, she's a complicated, interesting character. interesting character. It's like your first impression is, oh my god, she's nuts, because our first real impression of her is when she's in the elevator and starts stripping. But the more you get to know her, it's like, oh, now I get why you're so unhinged. I feel ya. I feel that unhinged sometimes. My hair is that unhinged right now, guys. You can't see it, but my hair is a freaking mess right now, and it's fine.
No, she has great hair, guys.
Yeah. No,
She's lying. She has great hair.
no. Listen. I joke that my hair either looks like it belongs on the cover of a romance novel, like the lead walking on a beach, hair flowing in the wind, or it looks like crazy old witch in the woods cackling and brewing her potions over a cauldron.
And both are never a bad thing.
Nope. It's spooky season. My hair can look crazy.
Exactly. So it's great. It goes with fall.
Exactly. I'm on brand.
Exactly. However, I always thought of Joanna. Okay, I love the character, but if her were a person, I would slightly understand her, not really like her, but she's the kind of person that you want on your team.
Exactly.
Rather than against you.
Yeah. And I just love when she shows up to be part of the alliance, like how it like shakes up the dynamic of the group, because it's just when Katniss is kind of getting settled into like the trio with like her, Peeta, and Finnick, and she's actually beginning to like bond and trust Finnick, because he just saved Peeta's life like I think up 2 times at that point. So, and she saw like his reaction to losing Max, and she's like, oh, this guy's like a real person, and I actually kind of like. So they're settling into that trio, they're working well as a team, and then Joanna shows up, and like Katniss like does not trust her the entire time.
Which also, as a reader, I get annoyed by that, because they all, like, every single time in books, they always put women automatically not trusting one another.
I mean, Katniss and Max trusted each other, and Katniss trusted Wiress.
But Max and Wiress are much older women.
True.
They always pit similar in age women against each other.
That's true.
Which, yeah, it's the whole trope, which I honestly don't like. Is it accurate? I'll agree to disagree to like, yeah, in life. However, it's odd because we always see Katniss around men and she's fine. But around a woman around the same age, she's just not. From one second to the next, she's like, nope, not comfortable.
No, that's not entirely true. She gets along with Badge back home.
Guys, listeners, you cannot see my face right now. However, it's like, oh wow, one.
Yeah. It's better than the movies. We got no examples of Katniss getting along with a girl her age, because they cut Madge from the movies.
Because literally Katniss is shown almost like a cat, an actual cat.
Yeah.
A cat's person is like, I'm pretty, don't touch me. It's like,
yeah,
literally. But I do really appreciate because they don't trust each other. Even by the end, even by the end of like Catching Fire, Katniss doesn't trust Joanna at all.
I mean, she has good reason to, because the last time she sees Joanna in this book is when Joanna's knocking her out and stabbing her, and we know like afterward it was to help her, because she got the tracker out of Katniss and made it look like she was dead, so Brutus and Anabario would leave her alone, and Joanna literally led them away. But Katniss didn't know that in the moment. We didn't understand or know that in the moment. It wasn't until afterward, and there was no time to reconcile with that because Joanna got captured.
I know, even before, she's not comfortable with her being split from Peeta. She's not comfortable. She's not happy to go with Joanna.
Nope.
She's not happy. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, like Joanna is described as being shorter. Much shorter than Katniss. Honestly.
Yeah, and the thing is,
just kick her in the chest. You're fine.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm thinking. So the reason that, the in book explanation as to why when they were splitting, that Katniss and Joanna had to be the ones to take the coil to the beach is because they could move quickly through the woods. And, Peeta tries to insist to go with them, but it's like, no, you can't with your leg. You won't move fast enough. You won't get off the beach in time, that kind of thing. But, like, no, and I get, like, Peeta and Finnick had to stay behind to guard Beetee, in the book at this point, because, like, Beetee gets, like, stabbed in the back during the bloodbath, so he has trouble walking through most of the book, actually. And in fact, Finnick and Peeta multiple times take turns carrying him around places. Um, it may, like, so I get, like, they would have to stay back to guard Beatty, but in that case, I think, because I think everyone knows that Katniss doesn't trust Joanna. What they should have done is have, like, Joanna stay behind to guard Beatty and have Finnick take the coil of wire to go with Katniss, because they can both move fast too through the woods, and Katniss actually trusts Finnick.
Exactly. And Finnick has an affinity, like he's good with water.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you send the person that's good with water to where there's water?
Mm-hmm. Plus, um, Peeta's still behind to carry Beetee away from the lightning tree.
Exactly. I mean, true. Okay, what is your take on the morphlings?
The Morphlings. Well, we don't really get to know the male Morphling at all because he just dies on the first day.
Yeah.
And and then as for the woman, obviously, she does something very significant, saves Peeta's life, and this is our first, like, big clue. Like, that was weird. Like, why does it seemingly like everyone's protecting Peeta? That's odd, and that's, like, our first, like, big clue. Like, Victor's are acting in a weird way, in an unexpected way.
And also, I found it very, very funny how everyone had already figured out that without Peeta, Katniss would not do anything at all.
Yep.
Herself still didn't get the fact that she was in love with Peeta. It's like, dude, it's like, are you dense?
Yeah.
Everyone else knew before
Literally
she.
everyone else actually, that's very relatable for me, though. Usually everyone else figures out my feelings before I do. It's kind of funny.
I mean, true, but still, it's like, seriously, it's like, are you dense? But also, what I applaud and find slightly non realistic yet noble from every single one of the victors is that were on the plan,
Mm-hmm.
their willingness to die. Because the morphling, the female morphling, just stepped without any weapon and presented herself as a prey, the perfect prey,
Mm-hmm.
instead of Peeta without a moment's thought.
Yeah.
There was no hesitation. So it really makes you wonder what kind of life, it's like how strong their values were, what they believed in, and what kind of life they they must have lived for them to be able to make that choice in a second's time
'Cause
and
even
be okay with dying
even
in
as
the
dying,
brutal way.
yeah. Because in the book when she's dying, there's this line that Katniss gives in her narration about how, like, her whole life speaks of waste, like the way her whole body just went to waste since she didn't do anything except get high all the time on Morphling. And even though, like, as a victor, she could have, and even describes, like, she's so skinny to the point where you can see her ribs, even though, like, clearly she's a victor, she can afford to feed herself very well, but it's like, nope, she didn't choose that at all. So it's like, how sad was this woman's life that she had absolutely no problem dying?
And also it makes her sacrifice even more significant because even though she herself had no willingness to live life, she knew that her life was a good enough trade for a larger cause, which makes her death one of the most heroic in the series. Every single victor who was lost, who was in with a plan,
Mhm.
their death, even though it's not shown, it's not described in the book, and it's not shown in any scene in the movie except like the like the cannon, like a scream and a cannon.
Yeah, because
Um,
not all the victors who wound up teaming up with Katniss who were in on it were on that team. Like Chaff and Cedar from 11, they were in on the plan, but they didn't end up in that bigger group. Actually,
exactly,
Cedar, she died on the first day.
exactly, and them being on the like on it on the plan, knowing that their chances of survival were on like really weighted on whether Katniss liked them
Mm-hmm.
for them to be in her team or not. It's like your life and your chances of surviving in the arena rests on like by then 18-year-old liking you.
Or she was 17.
Oh, sorry, 17-year-old liking you. Like,
Also,
what
like
is it? A popular clan or what is it?
also Chaff really fucked that up because like had he not like decided to mess with Katniss by casually just sexually assaulting her by kissing her like as a joke, it's like congratulations, she didn't like you after that. She would, had you not done that, sir, she might have considered an alliance with you just out of just for Haymitch, because like Chaff and Haymitch are like buddies.
Exactly. And the fact that he survived.
No, Chaff doesn't.
What?
Yeah, well, to be fair, we find it isn't until Mockingjay that it's revealed that Chaff that night died.
Wait, give me a second. I didn't know Chav had died.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, I didn't remember. Okay, I have literally two. Okay, here's my question. In the book, it is explained why they didn't tell Katniss from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the same time, I don't understand why they didn't because, I mean, she is our female protagonist. She would have been on the plan.
So the reason they didn't tell her, well, I mean, one, like for the story's sake, it's like a good plot twist for us, the reader. And then and the reason they kept Katniss in the dark was because they knew, like one way or the other, no matter who blew up the force field, that because Katniss has become the symbol of this rebellion. As soon as the force field blew, Katniss would be the first person that the Capitol would try to capture. So for her sake, the less she knew, the better.
Okay, that I don't believe. That like because that made okay, because I know it's like plot device. However, that made her okay, she is a very good like if it were a chess game, she's a very good um chess piece to have
Mhm.
in general. Like she's or um like a board game. She's a great piece to have in your arsenal. And the fact that they didn't tell her made her just almost like ruin the plan
Yeah, I
in
know.
different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it's like, dude, why didn't you tell her? She could have been in on it. She could have helped. Everything would have been much easier. Much, thousand
Well,
percent easier.
Well, probably for Hamish, because after Katniss like failed to like prove that she was in love with Peter, whatever, during the victory tour. From Hamish's point of view, he's probably thinking, "Well, she's a shit actress. Don't tell her anything, guys."
I mean, she is a shit actress. However, um, she didn't have to do anything. Just stay quiet.
Yeah,
And she's great at not talking. So,
true. All throughout the victory tour, she's happy to let Peter do all the talking.
exactly. And all she could have done is just stay quiet,
and
smile.
shoot the arrows.
Exactly. And at the that which makes me as a reader start to question Katniss's own, because I understand that she didn't want this. She didn't want any of it. She didn't want to become a symbol. She didn't want to anything, but she did.
Mhm.
And oddly enough, I mean, Peeta must have known something, because he just like threw in the interviews at the beginning. He threw the, "Oh, we're already married," and boom, baby. He threw the baby bomb, which I get, but at the same time, it's just like he must have known something.
Yeah, well, because even Katniss suspected, she knew that there was like a bunch of uprisings going on because this scene isn't in the movie, but she met Bonnie and Twill in the woods who escaped from District 8, and they're the ones who told her, we're going to try to find District 13 because we think it's still alive and it survived somehow, so that's a place to get away. So Katniss knew that her like uh dying in the right way in the arena to save Peeta's life and to go against the Capitol's games would add fuel to their rebellion. So she knew, and I'm pretty sure Peeta was aware of there being some kind of uprising because kind of straight up told him too that she saw evidence of this. But I don't think either of them quite knew the extent of the plan or like how legitimate the rebellion was at that point because how legitimate 13 was.
But at the same time, is she dense?
Yeah.
Just yeah. Yes. I mean, what is your take on Peeta the entire book?
Um he is a perfection. I'm not blinded by love. I swear.
Unpopular opinion. I thought the entire book he was like, okay, not in the interviews. Fine. But after the interviews and once the arena started, he became like a plant next to a lamp. He was there. People kept saving him. He
he's
was
the,
not doing much.
he's
And
the
he did
he's the damsel in distress.
exactly. And he was just like there. I mean, okay, unpopular opinion. I felt like the entire book, like our male lead was like hijacked by Finnick. The protagonism was like hijacked by Finnick. Is it me? Unpopular opinion.
I can.
I'm not talking about the romantic lead. The romantic lead was still him.
Yeah.
However, the male protagonist, the male like strong figure in the arena was hijacked by the character of Finnick.
Yeah.
Yes. Because even in the arena, because usually Peeta is the one that shows kindness and overall, oh no, don't kill her like that, and like softness through the whole thing. It's like, oh, depth. This book, it was actually Katniss that showed a little bit of like that, oh, she's not so hard after all.
Mm-hmm.
Her crying over him like being electrocuted, her crying because of like the odd birds that took the voice of
The
her
jabber.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That scene is horrifying. Also, just throwing it out there, Madge was among the voices Katniss heard.
exactly. Um, her trying her hardest. Like she saw when Mags just like went into like the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Then her carrying the morphling and trying to like, oh, look at the sky, look at the when she died.
No, Peeta was the one who was saying, "Hey, look at the sky," and like being kind.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Usually Katniss with death, she's unless it's like a child, she's like just there and she's like, oh, they're dying. Okay, one less person to worry about. However, in this one, she was the one, I don't know, like showing a lot more depth, not depth, but like squishiness, like fluffiness to her character. And Peeta, no offense, but he was literally the damsel in distress. He got electrocuted. He almost got eaten by a monkey. He was like stumbling all the way with a massive sword, but he was like stumbling his way. He was left behind because he was not quick enough. He was at the end, he was pretty much kidnapped.
Yeah.
And then he was the one who had to be rescued, which I mean, don't mind me. I love when a woman has to save her man. I love that. However, at the same time, it's just like, was he? Where was the strength? Where was the? Where was our man? Like in the first book, was single-handedly just like protecting her woman and like his woman and all like hiding all the tracks around and like fooling everyone and being this masterful like painter that was able to like camouflage himself anywhere. It's like, how did that become someone that in the first like
Uh,
decade of the arena, he almost dies of dehydration. He gets what's it called? He gets again
I mean,
electrocuted.
to be fair, they all almost died of dehydration.
I mean, true, but he also got electrocuted.
Yeah.
So it's like, who got electrocuted? There's like everyone dying of dehydration. Yeah, but he also got electrocuted. So he was stumbling around. He almost got eaten by a monkey. He was always saved by women, which I really loved. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. True.
Well, no, it's like women and Finnick.
And
But still,
Finnick.
if,
Finnick is better than all men, so.
I mean, true. I mean, yeah. But at the same time, it's like, and it was okay. It was like, oh, take a pearl. How is she going to keep herself from losing it?
It was in a pocket or something. She held on to it the whole time.
I mean, that's amazing, but that's a whole feat on its like in itself. I mean, it started slightly to make me question like Peeta's own like prior like list of priorities. Because he was like fighting for my life, giving the girl like a pearl. Seriously? What is it? Tell me your take.
I mean, his prosthetic leg was definitely making him obviously physically struggle more than he had the previous year, which sucks.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, we all love the fact that he got saved by the girl he loved.
Mm-hmm.
However, he used to like be able to like carry shit over his head. Like, where did that go? I mean, we can still have the extremely strong with a fluffiness.
Mm-hmm.
We can get a marshmallow. We can. Someone strong and like marshmallow. We can have both. But at the same time, it's like, why? Why? I don't know. It's like he's like in the first book, he seemed so like on point with like tracking and like fighting and or at least doing it somewhat efficiently. And the second one, he was like Peeta getting saved, Peeta almost fainting, Peeta like trying to carry Peeta not being fast enough, Peeta almost being eaten by a monkey.
Okay, I'm thinking of this line where it's like Finnick and Katniss were talking, and Finnick says something along the lines of, "No one in this arena is a victor by accident, except maybe Peeta." Maybe that's just like a representation of how PETA was never meant to be a victor because, like, in the arena against like average tributes and most average career tributes, like when they're kids, yes, PETA has a fighting chance because, he's smart, he is physically strong, but against like these very seasoned like veterans, he's not quite at their level.
I mean, but at the same time, that's shade.
I know, but
I mean, it's like, yeah, everyone here can like fend for it by themselves. He's a wuss.
poor,
Yeah,
poor PETA.
poor PETA. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, he's the only one who's not willing. I mean, wait, that okay, that's giving him the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, PETA was willing to kill for Katniss.
Yeah, because spoiler alert for Mockingjay, we find out that during the chaos of that night, PETA had actually somehow managed to kill Brutus.
Exactly. So Finnick being, oh, everyone else like can fend but PETA. I'm just like, dude, you're saying that our lovely marshmallow is a marshmallow? I mean, he is a marshmallow, but at the same time, the boy can kill you.
Yep.
I mean, he murdered Brutus.
Mm-hmm. Like, how did he do
that? I mean, okay, guys, unpopular opinion, I'm clapping for PETA. Never clap for murder, but at the same time, it's like, yes.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we don't. It's like we don't technically support murder, but in this fictional scenario, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Besides, also Brutus was like the only one who volunteered to go back into the arena, and it wasn't not with the motivation of protecting someone else.
Exactly. So,
but like, because it was only him, PETA, and Mags who volunteered. PETA, obviously, we knew he would volunteer to go into the arena to protect Katniss, and then Mags volunteered to protect Annie, because Annie was originally reaped.
Mm-hmm. I mean, oh no, she wasn't pregnant. Sorry. Spoilers, guys.
Spoiler alert, Annie doesn't get pregnant until Mockingjay.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So Finnick after
quite the honeymoon.
Exactly. Sorry, like weird comment, but it's like, ooh, after the arena, Finnick got freaky. I'm kidding. I am kidding.
I mean, listen, the boy deserves it. He deserves some consensual sexy times with someone he loved, not only after going through the arena twice, but being essentially prostituted by President Snow.
And also by being PETA's nanny.
Yeah, too.
The entire time.
Boy deserves a break.
Yes, and winning Katniss's. I mean, he had to deal with Katniss's distrust and then babysitting PETA the entire time.
Katniss, like, even after they got out of the bloodbath, even after Finnick protected Katniss from the dude from District 5 who was gonna, stab her, even then, Katniss, when they're like hiking through the jungle with PETA and Mags, Katniss is thinking, would now be the best time to murder Finnick.
Exactly. And he's like, I mean, I'm like, everyone, okay, different, this is a TV series. It's like, but still, everyone like comments on Steve being able, like, the perfect babysitter. I'm sorry, Finnick is.
Yes.
He is the perfect babysitter.
And he doesn't get the shit beat out of him like Steve Harrington does as often.
Exactly. And no one gives Finnick enough credit, like enough of a credit. I mean, he was babysitting. I'm sorry, listeners. We all love Katniss. We all love her. But at the same time, we know that she's a rat.
Katniss is still a 17-year-old girl.
And she is something that rhymes with witch and starts with a B. We love her, but she is one. No shame in that. But she is. I mean, she has her reasons, but at the same time, she is. She's not an easy person. So imagine having to babysit and get the person to like you that is like similar to a cat, a very, very angry cat. And
so Finnick's basically babysitting a grumpy cat, a helpless puppy, and Mags.
Exactly. Literally, a grumpy cat, a golden retriever puppy, and an old woman. and a granny.
Yeah.
Like almost like Robin Hood's, like not Robin Hood's, like Little Red Hood, like Little Red Riding Hood's grandma
Yes. So basically,
with a death wish. With a death wish.
yeah. So after all that, Vinnick doesn't get paid enough.
Exactly. And he goes off into the sunset for a couple months. Yay.
And we're not talking about that yet. I don't want to talk about that
Exactly.
yet.
Spoilers, like
Yeah.
spoilers, guys.
I'm not kidding. When we eventually do our like Mockingjay wrap ups and movie talks, I will very likely be drunk. I will have a bottle of wine, guys. We will see how much wine I can drink during this. Someone is gonna have to host the Zoom calls for me, probably.
And also, another babysitter was Joanna.
Yeah. She's a very aggressive babysitter.
Very aggressive one. I mean, she was covered in blood.
Yeah, I mean, I would be that annoyed and jaded too if I like came on the beach covered in blood, dragging these two other helpless children through the blood rain, and then her like partner babysitter hitting the force field and dying, and they couldn't help him like they could help, like the others could help PETA. So
Exactly. So
I'd be cranky too if I were her.
yes, and then someone telling like TikTok, TikTok,
Tick tock the whole time.
like, and you not being able to murder. I mean, and you not being able to literally murder her because again, the 17-year-old brat that they're trying to save that knows nothing, like you know nothing, Jon Snow, you know nothing, Katniss Everdeen, because little Miss the Mockingjay like them. Seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, they deserved, and plus, she got captured and tortured.
Yeah. Like next to Pete, I'm pretty sure Joanna was tortured the worst.
Yes, and the fact she was already being tortured in like the arena with the jays with the freaking
Well, no,
birds.
because Joanna says like when she goes to get water from the trees in that section, Katniss is like, no, don't go in there. The Jabberjays, you know, it sucks. And Joanna's like, no, they can't hurt me. There's no one left that I love.
And that is the reason why it's like, damn, girl.
Yeah, Joanna been through the ringer, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes. And her story is even more heartbreaking. She won when she was very, very young. She won. She was prostituted from a very young age. And
I
when
don't
she
think
said
she,
no,
I don't think she was.
that's the reason that her family got murdered because she said no.
Yeah, so she didn't actually go through the prostitution, I didn't think.
I think she did. I mean, otherwise how nonchalant would have she was too nonchalant about getting naked.
Okay, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could also be part of her personality. She's very nonchalant about a lot of things.
Also kills me though is the fact that because at some point in the book, Katniss notes that like in their like alliance group that they have, she and PETA, they're the only ones left of their district partners still alive, and it's so freaking sad because like everyone with them is aware of the plan. That means they know it's like, okay, I can get out of this alive with my friend because like all these victors have known each other for years and they're especially closer like with their district partners. Hold on. Need a sip of water. Um so it's like, yay, we can get out of here with our friends, but
No, and Katniss and Peeta had the upper hand because they were the new kids on the block.
mm-hmm.
They could have killed anybody. They didn't know any of these people.
Yeah.
Plus, these people were old.
Yeah.
No offense, but they were old. Or like, they were older.
Yeah.
And plus, they were all like certified killers.
Yeah. And okay, also, can we agree that like pretty much everyone who like wound up going to the arena, like it was rigged for either side one way or the other, I feel like. because I because like I think that like the reaping in District 12. I mean, obviously Katniss was going to get picked no matter what, but I think that it was rigged to have Haymitch's name because I think it was essential for Peter to go into the arena because otherwise he'd be mentoring and he'd have to be let in on the plan for behind the scenes work. And plus, for Haymitch, I think it would have been too hard for him to go into the arena because not only is he returning into a Hunger Games, but a quarter quell. I don't think he could have handled it. Like
Also because he would have had the shakes because he's an alcoholic.
exactly.
Would have
Like
got have to go through withdrawal.
yeah, the withdrawal symptoms would have been awful, and mix that with the PTSD of being in another quarter quell. And it's like, nope, that's a recipe for disaster. So he had to be working behind the scenes as a mentor. And they knew Peter would volunteer to go in with Katniss. So I think, both slips of paper actually had Haymitch's name on it.
Damn.
Yep. And obviously, I think Plutarch rigged it so that Beatty could go in because, Beatty was the one who would know how to blow up the force field. So he had to go in and he probably requested Wirus to come in with him because they were friends. And he's like, okay, cool. Chance for me and my friend to get out of here. Although still knowing it was a risk. And, clearly.
She died.
Yeah, she died. So fuck. And
How
then
she died was awful. It's like turn around 2 seconds, boom, she's gone.
I know, and in the book it's so sad because Beatty gives Wirus like his coil water. It's like, hey, can you go wash this out for me? She's like, yes. And then boom, she's
Nope.
murdered a minute later.
Exactly. It's like nope. It's like don't grab anyone gives you. Anything anyone gives you. Just don't.
Yeah. And then like obviously they wanted Finnick to go in because he's a great fighter and could protect Katniss, and pretty sure
I mean,
Snow.
he always had to go in because there was no other victor from 4.
Yeah. I mean there are, but he was like obviously on their side.
There were other.
Pretty sure there was. Are there? I don't know. I just assume there are multiple since it's a career district.
No, I think that he was the only one, and then it was like Annie Crest and Mags.
Okay. Eh. But
Mm.
then also I find Cashmere and Gloss interesting just because they're from District 1 and they're brother and sister going into the arenas together. Like, damn.
I mean, everyone wants to kill their family members, just not literally.
Yeah.
And I mean their names.
Mm,
Cashmere and Gloss.
I know. Listen,
I
District
mean,
1, they pick interesting names for their kids.
definitely. It's like, oh, what's Cashmere? A murderer. Really? It's like fashion statement. Fashion's a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like, I wish we knew a lot more about how each of the victors won.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, you like, which are you most interested in?
Ooh. Again, Mags, just because, obviously because she was alive uh, during the 10th Hunger Games, and we all know I love Lucy Gray. So, but again, because and her games was also the first year it wasn't taking place in the Capitol in the amphitheater. It was the first time they built a brand new arena, and they had the sponsorship system down better and everything. So it's like she was really like the first like
She's
celebrity
one.
victor afterward.
She's one of the originals. Like, she's the original. She's
Because
like
like
the OG.
because basically before Lucy Gray, all the other victors they were kind of probably allowed to fade into obscurity. Like maybe they tracked them down and brought them back in for future games, but we don't know for sure. So Mags was really the first one to become like a celebrity, essentially.
And honestly, instead of a movie, I wish they would have done the Hunger Games as a series.
Ooh, like a Netflix series where it's like each episode focuses on a victor and it's like a mini movie type of thing.
No, like not exactly that. All the books were done almost like a 8 episodes, 10 episode season.
Okay, and then you could like flesh out some of the minor characters more.
Exactly, and you could have gotten slight even like flashbacks from each of.
All right, time to petition for a Hunger Games reboot. I volunteer to play Madge.
Seriously, you could pick anyone.
Listen, I don't have to do any physical training. I She's an underrated like character that people genuinely like, and I wouldn't have to work as long hours as some of the other actors. And I wouldn't have as much pressure as some of the leads like Joanna and Katniss would.
True. No, I would have picked any of the tributes, like not tributes, any of the victors,
Mm,
because okay, the stunt, like all the training, I generally like the training, not because I like exercising, because I don't,
mm-hmm.
but being able to do stunts in, I don't know, I want to feel like badass for once.
Okay.
But that, like, personally, I did like this book better than the first book, because the first book was slightly, I felt it like it was slightly rushed,
Mm-hmm.
slightly.
Really, I felt the opposite actually. Like I felt like everything was well paced in the first book.
I mean, it was, except the ending.
Okay, that one's that's fair actually.
Yeah, like especially like, oh yeah, they're back. Eh.
Yep. You're back. Time for an interview. Oh, the Capitol hates you. Here's a new dress. Recap, interview, go home. Bye.
Exactly. It's like, they're like, we want a cliffhanger. Or like, we would have liked to see, like in the book, a lot more about Peeta's dynamic and why he decided to step away.
Mm, yeah.
Hmm. Because it was just like, oh yeah, they don't really talk, but they do, but they don't. It's like,
Yeah, it's
it's,
awkward.
yes, and I would have, because I would have liked to see almost Katniss's withdrawal from being away from Peeta, because there was slightly a withdrawal.
Hmm.
And it would have been nice to see how the dynamic change between like before the games to after the games, and how her family sees her, or how she, like, because they do talk about the nightmares,
Hmm.
but they don't really talk about the rest. And the only person who could have understood her in that way would have been Peeta.
Exactly.
So, or even, well, Haymitch is too drunk to care.
Yeah.
And
Hamish has some work to do on his own first.
yes. Um, but it would have been nice to see almost Katniss's and own Peeta's withdrawal, like almost just a little, kind of like 2 pages of like this, like Peeta trying to fall asleep and then not being able because Katniss is not there, and the same thing with Katniss about Peeta not really being there.
So you think it would have helped more if the book kind of broke away from only being inside Katniss's head and we got to peek into the heads of the other characters?
Yeah, but like more specifically Peeta,
Hmm.
to see, also see a little bit of his family life, because that's like glossed over, like really glossed, like
Yeah,
gloss.
like we can interpret and get and speculate, but like we don't really have all the details.
No. And it could have been quite nice to see him like moving into the big houses, and how everything changes, and the money, or
And
even,
his family doesn't live with him in his house either. Like he goes to see them for to like have dinner with them.
exactly, and because they don't really talk about the money at all,
Hmm.
even though the money is a huge part of it. And the like Valley Victor, like the Victor Valley or whatever it's called, where
Victor's
the,
Village, yeah.
yeah, it's like they had like their own villages, like, and I would have liked to see almost even a little bit more Peeta's own nightmares,
Mm,
or Katniss's own like changes, like someone enters a room and she like,
oh yeah.
or their fighting instincts, just like, or even Peeta, what he went through losing his leg and learning how to walk, and like because they get phantom pains, so the phantom pains of it all. Or him seeing like Katniss's like scar and just yeah, how he feels about that, or how he feels about his own not being whole, like physically complete again. And maybe going back to Haymitch and like talking a lot more about, because we see slightly as a reader Haymitch and Peeta's relationship, but it's not fully like developed.
Mhm.
And we know that Peeta cooks for Haymitch
Yes.
a lot.
And then
So
and then I like how in the book, after like, the new peacekeepers come to town and make everything harder for everyone, and Gale obviously gets whipped and injured, can't work for a while. I like how Katniss convinces Haymitch to hire Gale's mother, Hazel, to be his cleaning lady.
exactly. And it would have been also very, very nice to see almost Peeta's real thought about like Gale,
Hmm.
because Gale doesn't really think about Peeta, and Peeta doesn't really think about Gale
I like
a
how we
lot.
barely mentioned Gale at all throughout this
Exactly.
episode.
Because bec- spoiler, because he's a bad person. We know like
He's a whiny, butthurt boy who would probably be on one of those like Andrew Tate podcasts.
I mean, yeah, because he behaves like, oh, it was all done to him. Nothing was done to him.
Yeah, like
His
God.
family his family survived.
Hmm.
They did. He didn't have to go to like the arena
Yeah, I mean,
at all.
granted, being in District 12 when it got bombed at the end, that's gonna fuck you up. But it's like, but before that, when he was acting all whiny, like, Katniss, do you love me? It's like, shut up!
She has bigger things to think about. She's going to BTS.
He told you to to your face, like, I can't think of anything right now. I'm scared out of my mind. They're threatening to kill me and everyone I love. We need to get away. And he's just sitting there like, okay, but do you like me? Like, not the point. Not
It's
the
like
point.
it's like not the theme right now. No, it's like not the topic. We're not talking about
That's
that.
what we were talking about a moment ago. There are more important things going on than your dick's needs.
Exactly. And I personally thought Gale was such a fickle little man. He was such like he went on kissing everyone in District 12, apparently,
Yep. He's a
because he was
ladies man.
exactly. And
Hence
then it's
why
like she
Ian
goes
Hemsworth plays him.
exactly, and then she goes away, and then like she goes to the arena, and he's like, "Oh no, but she's mine." It's like, dude,
Yeah.
she's literally been there for years. You've not made a move on her,
It's when
like,
she's suddenly desirable to other people when you're like, hmm.
and that is toxic as fuck.
Yeah, actually, and spoiler alert for Mockingjay, Gale reveals that the first time he realized he had feelings toward Katniss was the New Year's before the 74th Hunger Games when Darius, R.I.P. because he got turned into an A-box. Darius, the likable like younger peacekeeper, um, like just like made a joke flirting with Katniss, like, oh, you want one of my kisses or whatever, like as a joke, and he was just messing with her, and Katniss thought it was funny, and but then that's when Gale started feeling jealous and was like, ooh, maybe I do want Katniss because suddenly this other guy is all getting wanting to kiss her. You're joking about wanting to kiss her, and it's like, shut up.
And also, instead of being grateful towards Peeta, because I mean, in the first book, Katniss got saved by Peeta several times.
Yeah,
Like,
Peeta actively protected Katniss.
exactly. I mean, it's nice that it's like, okay, now saying like in the big picture, it's nice that like Katniss returned the favor at the
Mhm.
second one, because boy was Peeta like the damsel in distress. However, slightly. However, instead of being grateful towards him, he's like, oh, but she had to kiss him. It's like, dude,
Not
dude.
important.
It's like, my dude.
Not important. Not
Not important.
important at all. You suck, Gale.
Exactly. And we never see how Peter reacted to Gale. We just never did.
Although
Like,
I will say one thing I kind of will say in like favor of Gale, I guess I do like the conversation he and Katniss have at the lake when after she gets back from her victory tour about what he says about like no, it's important to fight back, and that is one of the themes of the book of how it is important to fight back against you know oppressive governments and
yeah, but
but
Gale,
but but he still like does terrible things and goes about things in bad ways. So
but he also like never treated Katniss as a proper like love interest whatsoever. I mean, the kiss that they had when he was like sick, well, not injured on the table was like so lame. I'm sorry, so very lame.
yeah, that's an
And
improvement. Okay, improvement from the book to the movie because like in the movie he got whipped because he like tackled one of the peacekeepers to get him off like an old like one of the older women or something, so he did it to protect someone, whereas in the book it's like he got his dead turkey, thought he was going to old Commander Cray who always bought turkey from him, and surprise, new Commander Thread is there, and Thread's like, oh fuck you for poaching, whip.
exactly. So, but I would have, okay, what I would have loved to see was what what Peeta actually thought of Gale.
Yes.
Because Peeta's a marshmallow. He's such a nice man. He never, he never like, he never chastised Katniss for any attention she got from male eyes at all.
No, he straight up gave her the locket in the end that had, a picture of her mom, Prim, and Gail, and like basically like his way of saying like, it's fine, you can go have a life with Gail.
I mean, yes, and it's like true, and it's heartbreaking. It's like true love, but at the same time, it's like, dude, my dude,
Mhm.
Gale is not it.
No.
Gale is seriously not it. But at the same time, I would have really liked to see like what actually like Peeta thought of Gale, and also what Gale actually thought of Peeta, and a little bit more of their dynamic
Yeah.
because they were around Katniss, so it would have been seen as the
But we don't get that.
we don't at all. And like Katniss is like in a corner, just like being broody and moody and like cat-like
Yeah,
at all.
which is a mood.
It's a mood. But also, I would have liked to see Peeta react more, or I would have liked to see Katniss share more of her dynamic with Snow to
Yeah.
Peeta. Like,
Yeah. You kind of read my mind because I'm realizing we'll mention him a couple times, but we haven't really talked about him, President Snow, because we only saw like him twice in the last book. Now we get even more of him, and we realize, oh shit, this guy is terrifying.
and also is like he's letting everyone play almost like mice,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like the big snake.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, the mice are making a rebellion. It's not nice.
Mm.
But yes, I would have liked to see a lot more from Snow. And like because we do get how he thinks, but not really.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially after ballad, because it's like it'd just be interesting to like see the difference like inside his head, like 18-year-old him versus 80 something year old him who's president now and is old and very jaded.
But I mean, I understand he was awful because of the games and because of how he got to be president and stay
Yeah.
president for a long time. But if you look at him, okay, unpopular opinion, he was no worse than Coin.
Exactly. Like, and we will get into that because actually, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about how like they should have included Katniss in on the plan. I think I've talked about this before because this is the first like sign we get of how like the rebellion, especially 13 run by coin isn't much better than the capital, because both the capital and the rebellion in this case for the plan use Katniss as a chess piece in their games, and Katniss recognizes this. She's like, fuck this, because especially like at the time when I first read it when I was 14, I was so primed and so used to stories where it's like, a little more black and white, where it's like good guy, bad guy. And I'm like, well, obviously the capital's evil. So clearly I'm going to like these rebels. And, the first time I read Catching Fire and Mockingjay, I kind of, let the red flags go. But now it's like, looking at it more critically, it's like, yeah, even this early on, we're subtly having it deconstructed. It's like, no, both sides are kind of doing fucked up shit. One's just, maybe it's just a tad worse than the other, but the other's not the great either.
And also we get which okay, we that makes me actually question whether Snow really did see Katniss like as his true enemy and not only as a chess piece.
Mm.
Because how he talks to her is not like an enemy. It's almost like a mentor. And he rule like he sees Coin as his true enemy.
Well, actually, I can't remember exactly how the conversation played out in the book in Mockingjay, because Mockingjay is the one I've reread the least amount of times, but we'll find out when I read it. But I know in the movie, he says that he was so kind of distracted by Katniss that, especially when they were making all the propos, that he almost entirely overlooked Coin, and that was a mistake.
But it really makes me question whether Snow did see Katniss as a true enemy.
Well, we know he felt threatened because she was reminding him a little too much of Lucy Gray.
I mean, yes, but because of the love, well, yeah, his history with Lucy.
Yeah, love.
I mean, he was ruthless, but he was not ever truly unkind to Katniss.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I mean, he could have punished her, like punished her, and he didn't.
Mm.
I mean, there was like a slight kind of not pride, it's not pride, like respect for each other.
Yeah, like it's hard to it's almost hard to explain. Like it's such a unique dynamic between like the protagonist and the villain.
Because it's a 17-year-old girl against an 80-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he sees her innocence and lack of know-how and almost refreshing as a because he's probably had thousands of enemies before.
Oh yeah.
So her tactics to him, it's like, oh, new, okay,
Yeah.
which almost makes him because they Katniss as an enemy, she's not complex. She doesn't have a hidden agenda.
Mm-hmm.
She is quite simplistic. Sorry to say this, but like quite
Yeah.
simplistic and quite direct. So that's why probably he saw her attempts as rather futile and rather unimpressive. But I mean, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
So he really didn't see or he forgot the effect that a young girl, a martyr, and a great story, which is a love story,
Mm-hmm.
can do to the whole of Panem and what can do to the system.
Yep.
Because also him, even though he's like very well dressed, but he's no longer a leader that inspires like following. Yeah. Which makes me question whether he already knew that his reign was coming to an end. And if there was someone who was going to inherit it.
Yeah. I've heard theories that that Plutarch was being groomed to that Snow was trying to groom Plutarch to take over and be the next president, which makes the betrayal even better.
Or I mean, because in the rebellion, a lot of people died.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Lots and lots of them.
Countless
Okay,
you don't even know of.
I know, but let's make that comment just made me question whether the rebellion was truly, in fact, needed. If Snow was going to die in the next 10 years, give it a take.
Hmm.
Okay, true, like 24 kids. Okay, by in 10 years, 240 kids were going to die. Okay, no, 200, 230, because there's usually one victor. So 230
But still,
kids,
lots of
approximately.
kids were gonna die.
Lots of kids, like 230 kids were going to die in the next 10 years. However, once Plutarch came into power, he could have gotten just simply gotten rid of the Hunger Games altogether. So it's really bad, but what's 230 lives against how many thousands of people died in the rebellion?
Well, Katniss did the berry trick, and people rushed that plan through.
I mean, true, but at the same time, it's like at the same, it's like it makes you really question, like if Plutarch was being groomed, and if Plutarch really did come into power, and we all know because of everything that Plutarch was no evil. Well, he was not like he was no Snow.
Hmm.
The chances of him being able to change are quite high. And then put someone in power, such as the one that got what was her name? The one who
Paler.
exactly Paler after him. And
Where she's from.
because he does have a lot of ideas around how Panem should be run. I mean, a lot of things could have changed without the slaughter and without so much blood and bloodshed and people and lives lost and cities lost, and which makes everything questions like, oh, was it all just 13's plot to get revenge for what the capital did to them?
These, these are hard questions, and
It's like, we're going on a rabbit hole.
I know this is a weird rabbit hole. We could very easily keep going, but it's been like 2 hours. It's almost
Oh,
11 o'clock.
yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no
My
worries. This is awesome, but give all our listeners something to think about.
yeah. Okay, like to close it up.
Hmm.
Just close it up. What was your favorite part of Catching Fire?
Favorite part of Catching Fire? Dang it. I guess like the ending when it's like revealed like the plans in place, because it just makes you look at everything differently. And I also loved getting Haymitch's backstory for the Quell. You get more history of the of the Mockingjay pin, and also I also love the like Everlark fluff of the rooftop scene the day before their interview, where they kind of have the whole day to themselves, and they're just happy to be together on the rooftop having a picnic.
True.
Hmm.
Okay, my favorite part of the whole book was when all the victors were introduced. I just thought, yeah, I just thought like also like snippets of interviews and just overall the tension of it. I think that was my favorite part because we got between the very because District 12 was very monotonous. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of interesting and complex and like broken characters that are I thought they were great. And I mean their story the Catching Fire was quite entertaining. However, would have been a lot more entertaining was to know how each of the or have in the back of the book
Yeah.
like years of the victors and how they won. Just like buy that's like type of
Like
arena they
like
won.
if Stephanie Meyer can make a Twilight illustrated guide with literally every single minor character's backstory, we can have a similar thing for the Hunger Games.
And it just happened to be a whole story. It's just like type of arena, like year, age of the victor, district,
Mhm.
type of arena, and how they won.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
Like, yeah.
yeah, I'm getting tired. My brain's not working, and I still gotta work tomorrow. So woo!
Yes. So this is the end of today's episode.
This very discombobulated episode, and we could keep going, except we have stuff to do because we're unfortunately adults. Ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So, bookish babbles, babbles.
But anyway, thank you again for coming on, Gabby. It was slightly last minute, but whatever, we still did it.
Thank
And
you so much for having me.
and thank you, Michael, in the future, because again, that'll be inserted at the beginning of this episode.
Michael, Michael.
Ooh, Michael. And then I have a couple bonus episodes planned, including a Halloween Town book tag I'm doing with Sarah, so that'll be fun. And then of course our not Hunger Games, Catching Fire movie talk, which will be at least 2 episodes because part 2 of our Hunger Games movie talk was like literally almost 2 hours. That was just part 2. Dang it.
Dang it.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me, Allie. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be invited here. So, our lovely listeners, thank you for putting up with me.
I know.
And sorry for talking a lot.
No, you are a joy to have. Are you kidding me? And like I said, you always add things that I never even think of, and then you make all of us go down a rabbit hole. So,
Woo! Like, cheers to rabbit holes.
yay,
So,
rabbit holes. Okay. So yeah, Gabby, your YouTube channel and Instagram, of course, are going to be linked in the show notes. I know earlier I said I was going to link something else in the show notes. Alyson in editing will figure it out because she has to listen to all this. And all my socials will be in the show notes. We got podcast, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube channel. And what the heck, I'll link my personal TikTok because I've been lately posting stuff on there for fun, including my reaction to Rachel Zegler giving this really cute behind the scenes tour of the ballad set. It was awesome. And I squealed with delight when Tom Blythe did a bit that was just perfectly in character for Coriolanus. I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm proud of him.
so guys, if you like the podcast, please share, show it to your friends, listen to it, and pretty much like, share,
Yeah, all the good stuff.
tune in.
Yeah. Thank you again. I hope y'all have a great day/night, and we will talk to you next time. Bye!
Bye!